rights era. So Berea College wanted to integrate classes early on, but Kentucky passed a day law saying no. And so the case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and Justice Harlan wrote the dissenting opinion saying that our Constitution is colorblind and that the students should be allowed to integrate. And we have right here the court report recording the Berea versus Kentucky case.
I'm standing here with Evelyn Silliman with St. Catherine's College, and tell us a little bit about these unmentionable books that we have.
Fan books,
yes,
right.
That have been put out of the library. Tell us a little about them.
Well, we have books that all across the United States, different schools or different regions will ban and say children can't read them, or even adults can't read them due to their content, their language, and that sort of thing. And we feel at St. Catherine there's a better way than banning books. There has to be a better way than. To me, banning books is next door to burning books, so we think people should have access to what they want to read.
Well, there are a number of books that, we grew up in high school reading, like Catcher in the Rye,
Correct.
Or maybe Alice in Wonderland.
Or To Kill a Mockingbird.
Right. Oh, that's on the banned list.
Well, in some places, it'll be different. For instance, I just read where a local county had banned the Hunger Games, which we understand the Hunger Games has a lot of violence in it, but given the appropriate situation, it's a wonderful learning experience for students, and so is To Kill a Mockingbird. Even though, like with Mark Twain, it might have language that seems offensive, you look at the historic perspective and you try to deal with that with your students rather than just throwing it away.
Hello, I'm standing here with the author of The Grave Country Boys. Tell us. Oh, thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about your book that you wrote.
Well, it's about a basketball team, but it's not just about basketball. It's about the people living in this rural community named Cuba in the 40s and early 50s, 30s and early 40s and 50s. And it's about how they supported the team and how they lived.
Wonderful. And how did you come up with the name for the book?
Well, actually, the publisher did. The University Press published the book, and they decided that was a good name.
Wonderful. And how long did it take you to write it?
Oh, several years, really. It's a compilation more of oral histories than anything. It's not a book that I could research in libraries the way I did my first book. I wrote a biography of Margaret Mitchell, who wrote Gone with the Wind. This book, I had to get the information from people who lived there in that area, and from the men themselves, the men that played on the basketball team. So it takes a long time to do that, as you probably already know. It takes a long time to collect enough material to write a book. But it was interesting doing it. It was hard work, but I really think it was worth the effort. I enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Now you have this famous gentleman here, Coach Joe B. Hall, who did the foreword in the book.
I did. I met him because of the book. He liked the story, and he knew the boys. He had watched them play, and he was always fascinated by the style of playing that they used. So he offered to write the foreword, and I'm very grateful to him.
Well, wonderful. Mr. Call, do you mind if we get a word with you on camera?
I wouldn't mind at all.
Tell us a little bit about your experience writing the foreword with this book.
Well, I read the book first, and it was very easy for me to describe it as a book that tells more than a basketball story. It's about life in a small community during tough times, and we all can relate to it, even if you're not a basketball fan. It's a beautifully written book, and it's one that's very hard to put down. One story leads you to another story. The situations just roll on and on, from the first bounce of a basketball to the championship trophy.
All right, sounds good. And what's been going on in your life since you last were coaching?
The main thing is that it's still going on.
All right.
And that's the major thing. But I have a lot of fun. Denny Crum and I have a radio show on the WHAS sister program, And we're also out of Lexington on 101.5 FM, 10 to 12 every day.
Wow, well, you sound like a busy guy.
Yeah, we tell lots of stories and have a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to be on camera, and thank you so much again, Miss Walker. Thank you. I wish you the best on your book. Once again, it's the Graves County Boys. Thank you. I'm standing here with Joseph and Mary Moore, also known as Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. Tell us a little bit about the books that you've written.
Well, it's actually called the Santa Claus Trilogy, and these are the first two in the series. And this one was the very first book, and that explains how Santa came to be and how the elves came to be in the North Pole, that kind of thing. Very inspirational book. Also always keeps the real meaning of the season in front of the reader. The second book, we are proud to say, is to be a major motion picture coming out in Christmas 2015.
Wow.
And that is kind of a snapshot of the week in the life of the North Pole, and it explains how people have kind of lost their faith, lost their hope, but they wind up getting a wonderful trip to the North Pole where Santa restores their faith and renews their hope.
Wonderful. What made you, I know it's 'tis the season because we're here in the holiday season, but what made you write this book?
Well, they always say writers should write about what they know. And being a Santa Claus for many, many years now, this is what I knew. So
Wonderful. So you've dressed up as Santa Claus several times for children.
oh, I dare say hundreds, if not thousands.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
awesome.
It's been over 11
and amazing.
years. Yeah.
How long have you been writing books?
Actually, I started in 2005, and again, my third book will be out in January this year, which completes the trilogy, but I also have about 17 children's books about different elves that are on the drawing board, literally waiting for an illustrator to finish illustrating them.
Wonderful. Now, I remember you telling us that it's going to be a major motion picture.
The Faith, Hope, and Reindeer is going to be a major motion.
Wonderful. So you'll be able to see it in every movie theater?
Actually, yes, it's coming to the big screen. It's not the small screen. So they are working on the screenplay right now and starting production next year.
Well, you all heard it. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. Enjoy the book.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you once again for tuning into the 32nd Annual Kentucky Book Fair. It's been a wonderful experience. I hope you all get opportunity to come back next year and to preview everything that they've got here, from the authors to face painting to the Kentucky History Mobile. It's been an awesome event, and hopefully we'll see you around next year. Thank you.